Всім добрий вечір.
On behalf of the brave,
on behalf of every father and every mother
wings for freedom. On behalf of our warriors,
and paves the way for a new history.
A significant fire at an oil terminal in the Crimean port city of Feodosia, caused by Ukrainian missile strikes, was fully extinguished after 5 days, according to statements from the Russian-installed local authorities. The mayor of Feodosia announced via telegram that as of Friday morning, the fire was no longer active and efforts to stabilize the situation were successful. He mentioned that emergency teams and municipal workers were continuing restoration efforts. This follows an earlier report from Crimea's Russia-appointed governor who had mentioned the overnight release of flammable materials after an explosion was heard by residents. Despite concerns from locals experiencing symptoms such as nausea, headaches, and coughing, he assured the public that air quality posed no immediate risk. However, local consumer protection authorities did detect elevated levels of sulfur dioxide. Earlier in the week, Ukraine's military confirmed the first missile strike on the Feodosia oil terminal, one of the largest in Crimea, located in the Black Sea. The strike resulted in a fire that engulfed over 2,500 square meters and forced the evacuation of over 1,100 people. Reports suggest that the terminal may have ties to Viktor Khamarin, a longtime associate of Russian President Vladimir Putin, who is believed to have acquired ownership through a company that took over the facility following its nationalization by Russian authorities in 2019. Ukrainian defense forces recently launched a successful strike on an oil depot in Rovenki, a city located in the Russian-occupied Luhansk Oblast. The targeted depot plays a critical role in supplying fuel for the Russian military operations in eastern Ukraine, given its strategic position and proximity to railway lines used to store petroleum, oil, and other lubricants for Russian forces in the area. Rovenki has been under Russian control since 2014 and lies 110 kilometers from the front lines. NASA's FIRM service, which tracks global fires, confirmed the presence of a fire in the northeastern outskirts of Rovenki, supporting reports of a strike. A Russian telegram channel, Incident Luhansk, claimed that 10 Ukrainian drones targeted the oil depot, with Russian forces intercepting 8 of them. However, 2 drones reportedly hit their mark and ignited the fuel tank. A joint operation by Ukraine's naval forces, in collaboration with the Security Service of Ukraine, successfully targeted a base storing Shahed-type drones near the settlement of Oktyabrysky in Russia's Krasnodar territory. According to a report from the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, around 400 attack drones were housed in the facility. Ukrainian forces confirmed a precise strike on the site, with secondary explosions observed in videos afterward. The Ukrainian Armed Forces also confirmed a significant strike on the Khanskaya airfield in Russia's Adyega region on October 10th. According to the General Staff, the attack targeted an ammunition depot at the military facility, which caused large fires and detonations. Russian air defenses responded in the area, but satellite imagery confirmed impacts on the strike. The Khanskaya airfield, located in Krasnodar Krai, is around 450 kilometers from the front lines and has been used by Russia for refueling and launching missile and bomb strikes on Ukrainian targets. Ukrainian sources reported that 57 aircraft and helicopters were present at the airfield during the strike, including Su-34 and 35 jets, as well as Mi-8 helicopters. The main intelligence directorate of Ukraine's Ministry of Defense has conducted a cyber attack against the network infrastructure of the North Caucasus Federal University, a key institution targeting drone operators and digital communications specialists in Russia's military. According to a source speaking to Ukrinform, this operation targeted the university, which supports various educational institutions across Russia, including 7 regional institutes. The cyber attack significantly impacted the university's internal systems, resulting in the destruction of over 150 terabytes of data, including websites, databases, and file storage platforms. The attack comprised 11 websites, over 7,000 computers, 135 servers, and other storage systems. In a coordinated effort to divert attention from their primary target, a series of cyber attacks were also launched against other Russian internet sources and file storage systems. Hackers posted messages in support of Ukraine's military operations on the compromised sites following the breach. That's it for operational news this week. We'll move on to economy. The World Bank's board of directors has approved establishing a special financial trust fund for Ukraine totaling around $10 billion, as announced by Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal during a government meeting on October 11th. The fund's primary donors will be the United States and several other countries, with the possibility of the fund increasing in size as additional donors contribute. Shmyhal explained that the fund will mainly be used to support Ukraine's budget, covering essential expenditures such as salaries, social services, and critical recovery efforts. The $50 billion loan for Ukraine, which was to be financed through profits from frozen Russian assets, encountered delays following Hungary's decision to block necessary changes to the European Union's sanction regime. The Hungarian finance minister announced the veto on October 8th, which held up the process. During the June G7 summit in Italy, leaders confirmed an agreement to provide the loan to Ukraine by the end of 2023, with the loan being repaid using interest earned on frozen Russian assets rather than confiscating the assets themselves. The profits generated over time from the assets would cover the loan, and the EU was set to contribute significantly, with the US offering around $20 billion. However, the US has stipulated that the EU must extend the renewal period for Russian sanctions every 6 months to 3 years as a condition for its contribution. This change cuts the EU's contribution to the loan in half. The remaining $10 billion would come from G7 members, including Canada, the UK, and Japan. As a result of Hungary blocking the $50 billion, the Council of the European Union reached an agreement on a macro financial assistance package for Ukraine amounting to 35 billion euros. This package forms part of the larger 50 billion loan from the G7. The EU's contribution to the loan will be made available to Ukraine starting in 2024, with repayment spread over a maximum period of 45 years. The EU has also established a credit cooperation mechanism that will assist Ukraine in repaying loans of up to 45 billion euros provided by both the EU and G7 partners. The new MFA will follow the same political conditions as the existing Ukraine facility, which is based on a reform plan known as the Ukraine Plan. The plan outlines management and control systems for the funds, with specific provisions in place to prevent fraud and other irregularities. To expedite the process, the EU Council agreed to move forward without further modifications if the European Parliament adopts the European Commission's proposal without changes. Once approved by both bodies, the decision will take effect the day after it's published in the official EU journal. On October 11th, Serhiy Marchenko, Ukraine's Minister of Finance, signed a fourth additional loan agreement with the government of Canada, securing an additional 400 million Canadian dollars, around 300 million US. According to the Ministry of Finance, the loan will be used to cover key expenditures in the state budget. The loan is structured on favorable terms, including a 10-year repayment period and an interest rate of 1.5% per year, with a grace period of 4.5 years before payments begin. Energoatom subsidiary Atomenergomash has begun manufacturing localized safety components for Ukraine's nuclear power plants as part of a broader initiative to replace equipment and parts previously sourced from Russia. According to a report from Energoatom on its Telegram channel, they started producing the first such component, which will be used in one of Ukraine's nuclear facilities. This is a significant step in reducing reliance on Russian-made products, which is a priority for Ukraine since the full-scale invasion began. Once the domestic demand for these components is met, newly produced equipment can also be supplied to VVER-1000 type reactor units at European nuclear power plants. Energoatom stated that since the onset of the full-scale invasion, it has successfully replaced all Russian-sourced goods with domestic alternatives or imports from partner countries, which ensures the continued operation and safety of Ukraine's nuclear facilities. The European Bank for Reconstruction and Development and the International Finance Corporation have provided a significant $435 million investment to support the newly merged Ukrainian telecom company Data Group Volia LifeCell. This company formed from the merger of Data Group Volia and LifeCell through the acquisition by company NJJ Capital and marks the largest foreign investment in a Ukrainian business since Russia's full-scale invasion began. Each organization will contribute $217 million to the project, which is also backed by the French government and European Commission. NJJ Capital, owned by prominent French investor Xavier Niel, partnered with Horizon Capital, a U.S.-Ukrainian private equity firm, and Mikhailo Shalemba, the former CEO of Data Group Volia, who is now the CEO of the merged telecom group. The investment will enhance mobile connectivity for 10 million Ukrainians and provide faster, more reliable broadband access to around 4 million Ukrainian homes. The initiative is crucial for the recovery of Ukraine's telecom sector, which has suffered an estimated $1.9 billion in damages and $750 million in losses due to the full-scale invasion. The European Bank for Reconstruction and Development was originally established to support countries transitioning to a market economy after the Cold War and has been heavily involved in Ukraine, deploying around 5 billion euros since the war started, with a focus on critical sectors like energy, infrastructure, and trade. The organization has also approved an additional 4 billion euros for further investments during wartime. PSJC Ukernafta is modernizing its equipment to enhance the efficiency of resource extraction from brownfields, according to a Facebook post by the company's director, Serhiy Koretsky. The modernization includes the replacement of outdated electric center and sucker rod pumps with new ones that meet American Petroleum Institute standards. This upgrade involves the replacement of the entire equipment setup, including tubing columns and high-temperature cables. Currently, 117 electric centrifugal pumps are in operation across Ukernafta's wells. Ukernafta is Ukraine's largest oil extraction company and also manages a national network of filling stations. As of March 2024, it operates around 545 gas stations, which it is currently in the process of renewing and modernizing. In November 2022, the corporate rights of the company, previously held by private shareholders, were transferred to state ownership, with the Ministry of Defense now overseeing the shares following a decision by Ukraine's General Staff. According to a report from BBC News Russian, the Russian Ministry of Finance has introduced new rules that significantly limit the compensation former business owners can receive after selling their assets in Russia. The minimum discount for the sale of foreign assets has been raised from 50% to 60%, and the required voluntary budget contribution has been increased from 15% to 35% of the asset's market value. As a result, after these adjustments, former owners will now only receive around 5% of the market value of their assets following a sale, and any transactions exceeding 50 billion rubles now require direct presidential approval. Also, despite ongoing sanctions, Russia has successfully imported over 300 machine tools from Germany in 2023, which can be used for producing military equipment, artillery, and ammunition. The finding comes from a study by a German think tank and was reported by Tagesschau. The machinery, critical for manufacturing engine components and missile parts, was sourced from around 30 German manufacturers and often routed through intermediary sources, primarily Turkey. Among the companies benefiting from the imports are Russian-related defense firms such as Parsec, Kamaz, NIR, and Industrial Solutions, all involved in the production of military goods. The study revealed that many German manufacturers involved are located in Baden-Württemberg, a region known for its mechanical engineering industry. The machinery in question includes modern CNC, computer numerical control machines, which are essential for high-precision metal processing required in military manufacturing. Attempts by German companies to restrict imports to Russia have so far been largely ineffective, as tracking the final destination of these products through intermediary nations has proven difficult. In some cases, Turkish intermediaries with direct ties to Russian interests facilitated the transactions. SWR's investigation also uncovered that some intermediary companies were founded by Russian entrepreneurs, which further complicates efforts to stop the flow of military use technology. Russia has also managed to secure used CNC equipment from Japan, such as Tsugami machines, reportedly purchased from Chinese intermediaries. These machines have been used in Russian enterprises involved in missile development. The think tank stated that the trend is likely to continue, with potential increases in both German and Japanese machine tool imports in 2024. Up next is foreign relations. Norway's Minister of Defense has created the position of military attaché in Kyiv to enhance cooperation between Ukrainian and Norwegian defense sectors and industries, according to their defense minister, and reported by one of their media outlets, Forsvarets Forum. This new role is expected to support collaboration in defense innovation and industrial development. Minister Graham emphasized the importance of Norwegian companies investing in Ukraine and highlighted that significant private sector involvement is crucial to address Ukraine's extensive needs. This announcement was accompanied by an announcement of an additional aid package of around 90 million euros by Norway. The upcoming opening of a Japan External Trade Organization office in Kyiv is expected to foster business cooperation between Japan and Ukraine, unlocking opportunities for numerous projects. In an interview with Ukrinform, Japan's outgoing ambassador emphasized that the new office will play a crucial role in facilitating collaboration between the two countries. It will collect information on the situation in Ukraine, assess the needs of local companies, and help establish partnerships for Japanese businesses in the Ukrainian market. Matsuda encouraged Ukrainian companies interested in working with Japan to engage with the institution, while also urging Japanese companies to support Ukraine's economic activities through trade, investment, and technological cooperation. Despite the ongoing war, he noted that hundreds of Japanese companies have already shown strong interest in the Ukrainian market through seminars and specific inquiries. Matsuda highlighted that both governments still need to improve conditions for private sector involvement, citing such efforts as the revision of the Convention for the Elimination of Double Taxation and ongoing updates to the Investment Protection Agreement. These updates, he said, will enhance investment protection between the two countries. He also pointed out that reforms in Ukraine in customs services are necessary to encourage further trade and investment. Also, the Black Sea Trade and Development Bank secured a credit line of $150 million from the Bank of International Cooperation to support critical recovery efforts in Ukraine and advance green initiatives. The credit line will focus on key sectors such as agriculture, the food industry, transport, logistics, digital infrastructure, and pharmaceuticals. $75 million worth of funds will be allocated to promoting environmental sustainability and green initiatives within the Black Sea region. The Office of the President of Ukraine has published details of an agreement signed between the Croatian Prime Minister and Ukrainian President during his visit to Croatia. The, quote, agreement on long-term cooperation and support between Ukraine and the Republic of Croatia outlines a 10-year partnership modeled after similar security agreements Ukraine holds with other international partners. One key area of focus in the agreement is humanitarian demining, an area which Croatia has already contributed over 10 million euros and pledged to continue offering equipment and expertise. The agreement covers additional humanitarian support, including mine clearance, veteran support, prosecution of war crimes, and assistance with rehabilitation for those affected by war. The agreement was signed during Zelensky's visit to Croatia, where he participated in both bilateral discussions and the Third Ukraine Southeast Europe Summit. Russia has reportedly conducted nearly 60 attacks on Ukrainian ports, civilian vessels, and grain storage facilities over the past 3 months, according to Alexei Kuleba, Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister for Recovery and Minister for Communities, Territories, and Infrastructure Development. These attacks have resulted in significant damage, with almost 300 facilities, 177 vehicles, and 22 civilian vessels being damaged or destroyed. The attacks have also caused injuries to 79 civilians, including port workers, logistics employees, and ship crews. Kuleba emphasized that the targeted assaults on southern Ukraine's port infrastructure are a deliberate attempt by Russia to undermine Ukraine's export capacity and trigger a food crisis in regions that heavily rely on Ukrainian grain. The disruption affects over 40 countries that depend on the grain, including nations such as Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, China, Vietnam, Indonesia, Spain, Turkey, and the Netherlands. Kuleba called on the international community to respond decisively to Russia's actions, noting that the effects extend beyond Ukraine and directly impact global food security. He stressed that increased pressure on Russia is essential and warned that continued silence and inaction would encourage further aggression. Finally, the European Union has expressed deep outrage following reports of the death of a Ukrainian freelance journalist named Victoria Roshchina while in Russian captivity. According to a statement from the European External Action Service, Roshchina's death in Russian custody highlights the brutal conditions faced by those detained in occupied Ukrainian territories and Russia. Roshchina, known for her courageous journalism, reportedly died while being transferred from a prison in Taganrog to Moscow. The EU statement also emphasized that Russia bears full responsibility for her fate as she was detained in the occupied territories. The EU has called for a thorough and independent investigation to clarify the circumstances surrounding her death and reaffirmed its commitment to holding those responsible for war crimes accountable. Roshchina disappeared on August 3, 2023, while reporting from Russian-occupied areas, and it was only in May of 2024 that Russia admitted to detaining her, notifying her father. On October 10, 2024, Ukrainian authorities confirmed her death in Russian custody, and in response, the Ukrainian Prosecutor General's office has reclassified the criminal case concerning her disappearance as a war crime combined with premeditated murder. The EU continues to express grave concern over the harassment and violence faced by journalists in the Russian-occupied territories, reiterating that there must be no impunity for violations against media workers. And that wraps up my news for this week. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Hello guys, as always, I will now present the most important news from Germany regarding Ukraine. We start with very good news. On Wednesday, Christian Freuding, who is the head of the Situation Center Ukraine in the German Ministry of Defense, announced in an interview with the Redaktionsnetzwerk Deutschland that Germany has delivered an IRIS-T SLM fire unit as well as 2 additional IRIS-T SLS launchers to Ukraine already last week. On the same day, at Germany's request, Switzerland has agreed to swap delivery schedules for RGV 90s, also called Matador, which allows a faster delivery of these man-portable anti-tank weapons to Ukraine. RGW 90s that were supposed to be delivered to Switzerland in 2025 will now be instead delivered to Ukraine, while the deliveries to Ukraine, originally scheduled for 2026, will then in turn go to Switzerland. And as the last item of this week, on Friday, the Slovakian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Juraj Blanar, I'm sorry, very sorry in case I butchered the name, announced during the joint press conference with his German counterpart, Annalena Baerbock, that the Slovakian-based repair hub for primarily German-supplied but also French-supplied Ukrainian equipment that has been damaged or requires maintenance will be further expanded. The repair hub near the Slovakian-Ukrainian border has been operated by the Franco-German defense company KNDS since December 2022. It's a strategic important hub for various vehicles and weapon systems, such as the German-supplied Panzerhaubitze 2000 self-propelled artillery systems, the Mars 2 MLRS, Gepard Sparks, and ATF Dingo 2s, as well as French-supplied weapon systems such as the Caesar howitzers. However, details on the expansion plans are not yet public, which means that I will try to provide more information on that at a later stage for you guys. Yeah, and that's it for my news segment. I hope you liked it. I'm looking forward to speak to you guys next week. Bye.
On behalf of the brave.